Islam as a religion came to the world stage in 610 AD, when Muhammad, a merchant from Mecca, claimed to begin receiving prophecies from the Archangel Gabriel. Muhammad was exiled to Medina and propagated his message there until he had a large enough following to return to Mecca and conquer the city. At his death in 632, Muhammad controlled almost the entire Arabian Peninsula. Expansion continued for hundreds of years after, only stopping once Charles Martel defeated the Muslims at the Battle of Tours in 732 AD. Today, Muslims are present across the world, especially in the Middle East. Like other belief systems, Islam realizes that there is a fundamental problem in the world which must be resolved in order for humanity to attain their greatest potential. For Muslims, the most important problem is that we do not completely trust the will of Allah, who wants the best for us all. Instead, we do what we judge to be the most beneficial, but these actions aren't always the best. Our judgments can lead us to treat others unfairly or abuse the gifts that Allah has given us. Some extremists today misinterpret the will of their God and commit horrendous acts of violence in the name of Allah. The Abdullah of Saudi Arabia states, "Muslims are not a bloodthirsty people. Islam is a religion of peace that forbids the killing of the innocent." The goal in Islam is very similar to the goal of Catholicism. Muslims wish to enter paradise after their judgment on the final day. They want to live eternally in spirit with Allah. Members of the Ummah strive to treat all others equally and remain faithful to Allah alone. Acceptance into paradise and resolving the essential problem entails embracing Allah as the one true God and submitting to His will, as the name of the religion implies. By submitting to Allah, true believers treat others fairly, respect all creation, sow peace in the world, and put their faith above all other parts of their lives. Muslims emphasize tolerance of other religions and forgiveness for people who have sinned. It is written in the Quran, "Allah will not give mercy to anyone except those who give mercy to other creatures." Unfortunately, many Muslims receive a bad reputation for the actions of a few extremists. However, a vast majority of believers promote tranquility and contribute positively to the growth of society by listening to the desire of their God.
Catholicism began at the dawn of the first millennium with the birth of Jesus. Before the birth of Jesus, the Jewish people believed that one day the Messiah would arrive on earth. When Jesus was born, many people did not know that he was the Messiah. Many Jews thought that the Messiah would be a warrior and would free the Jews from Roman control. Jesus, however, was a healer and a preacher. As he spread the word of his message, many people became angry with him. Jesus was crucified on a wooden cross and buried in a tomb. He rose 3 days later and met his apostles one last time. Jesus told them to spread the word of his life to all the people of the world. Today, many people still believe the story of Jesus, and Christianity has a large influence in the world. One problem Christianity tries to solve in the world is maintaining the respect for life. Many countries have legalized abortion and euthanasia. The Catholic Church believes that all life is sacred. Pope John Paul once said, "A person's rightful due is to be treated as an object of love, not as an object of use." This is very telling of the Church's approach. All life on earth is valuable and should be shown love. This council has set forth the dignity of the human person and the work which men have been destined to undertake throughout the world, both as individuals and as members of society. There are a number of particularly urgent needs characterizing the present age, needs which go to the roots of the human race. This excerpt is from the Vatican II Pastoral Constitution, Gaudium et Spes. This clearly shows that the Church must have dignity towards every person, no matter how young or how old she is. Many peaceful protests and projects are being done to spread the word about the respect for life. Many clubs and organizations also support the Church's ideals regarding human dignity. The spread of information and explanation of opinions can help make this less of a problem. Many people are fighting to stop the negative treatment of human life in solidarity with the Church.
Jainism is an ancient Indian religion and is considered by many to be a mix between Brahmanism and Buddhism. It was originally a response to Hinduism and because it rejects many doctrines. The name for Jainism is derived from Jina, the Sanskrit word meaning conqueror, which is one of the names for the Mahavira. It's much like Buddhism because it has many of the same ethical teachings, sacred texts, and the practices of Brahmin asceticism, and monasticism. Modern scholars believe that Jainism was originally an offshoot of Buddhism, but the prevailing notion is that it is independent and most likely the more ancient of the two. The origin story of the founders are very similar, They both lived in the 6th century BC. They both are honored with the title. In this case, Nyatruputra is honored with the title Mahavira, while Gautama was honored with the title Buddha. And they both gave up their lives to practice Brahman asceticism, and they both made many converts and organized them under a monastic life. However, in the founding of Jainism, he accepted many Brahmin principles, including that salvation is possible through effort alone, but rejected Brahmin traditions. He eventually gathered 11 disciples and preached his doctrine of salvation to them. One of the Jain doctrines is that of the so-called 3 jewels: right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. Right belief deals with Jina as the true leader of salvation. Right knowledge is quoted as the life together with the end of man. And right conduct is the ethical precepts of ascetic monastic system. One of the problems Jainism aims to solve is that of interpersonal violence. The main Jain texts are called the Agamas, which are composed of 46 separate texts, but the most important of which are the 12 Angas, which describe much of the doctrines of Jainism, including that of interpersonal violence. Certain Jain texts, notably the Sutra Kirtanga, the second of the 12 Angas, explain the doctrine as forms of bad acts which are then followed by the consequences. If a man kills living beings or causes other men to kill them or consents to their killing them, his iniquity will go on increasing. A sinner who makes the interests of his kinsmen and his companions his own will suffer much, for the number of those whose interest he takes to heart constantly increases. This notion of absolute nonviolence. Acharya Umaswamy wrote in his Tavarta Sutra, that which is, that himsa, meaning wrong or sin, is the removal of life by carelessness in actions, thoughts, and words said by an individual.
Catholicism is generally very tolerant of other religions. The Church recognizes that though they may not all believe in the exact same points of doctrine, many other religions seek the same outcomes in the world: peace, respect for life, protection of creation, etc. The final goals are mostly the same, as all want to end up in a form of heaven in the presence of their God. Today's religions try to answer many of the same questions about the meaning of life and how we came to be. Catholics recognize that good and true characteristics do exist in other religions and regard these as first steps toward the ultimate goodness and truth that is the gospel of Christ. While the purest form of salvation is found in the Catholic Church, faithful believers of other denominations can also find heaven. St. Paul writes, "Welcome anyone who is weak in faith, but not for disputes over opinions. One person believes that one may eat anything, while the weak person eats only vegetables. The one who eats must not despise the one who abstains, and the one who abstains must not pass judgment on the one who eats. For God has welcomed him. Who are you to pass judgments on someone else's servant? Before his own master he stands or falls, and he will be upheld, for the Lord is able to make him stand." Romans chapter 14, verses 1 to 4.
Unitatis redintegratio. When such actions are undertaken prudently and patiently by the Catholic faithful, with the attentive guidance of their bishops, they promote justice and truth, concord and collaboration, as well as the spirit of brotherly love and unity. This is the way that, when the obstacles to perfect ecclesial communion have been gradually overcome, all Christians will at last, in a common celebration of the Eucharist, be gathered into the one and only Church in that unity which Christ bestowed on his Church from the beginning. We believe that this unity subsists in the Catholic Church as something she can never lose, and we hope that it will continue to increase until the end of time. While this quotation from Unitatis redintegratio focuses on Christian unity, it is just as applicable for the non-Christian belief systems. Catholics believe that salvation's available only through Christ, but is open to all humans. From the Catechism, in Ecclesia in America, Pope John Paul II calls for the new evangelization centered on the person of Jesus Christ. The encounter with the living Jesus Christ is the path to conversion, communion, and solidarity. This personal encounter with the risen Lord, so abundantly recounted in the Gospels, epistles, and Acts of the Apostles, leads to the daily vision of the Lord present and active in the world. especially in the poor, in the stranger, and in the migrant and refugee. Those most in need draw the members of the church out of their unawareness to a conversion of heart through which they are able to offer genuine and suitable welcome, to share together as brothers and sisters at the same table, and to work side by side to improve the quality of life for society's most vulnerable members. All of this is an expression of the Spirit of the risen Jesus being poured out again on his followers. The Catechism explains, using the words of John Paul II, that all faiths must work together to improve the welfare of the less fortunate in our world.
Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger wrote in Truth and Tolerance, Christian Belief and World Religions that while many people argue that all religions affirm the same things, there are, in fact, non-negotiable fundamental differences among the religions. Ratzinger claims there are two distinctive types of religion. There are those religions in which the ultimate goal is to become identical to or merge with everything into a massive interpersonal unity, and then there are religions in which there is a personal connection or a relationship to a God while remaining separate from him. Ratzinger observes that at the heart of the discussion on diversity of religions is the identity of Jesus Christ, and that what they view about him defines the religion. Is he the sole Savior? Is he an usher of salvation, the only or one of many? Is he the one true God in human flesh, or an avatar, or among many of the different manifestations of the divine?